All right, great, thanks. All right, so I want to try and see the chat and the people, but there we go. That's a little bit better. So Dave and Yvonne and Alexis. Hey, Alexis, and Jim and Maureen. Hi, Maureen. All right. So I think we're recording now, and so I want to get us started so that we can, you know, just keep everybody on track today. What we are going to be talking about is a checklist that I put together for those who are teaching remotely, and I put this together when we went online in March, and then have been refining it and adding to it and thinking about all of the faculty that are continuing to have to teach online because of the pandemic, and wanted to go through the checklist with folks interested in as part of our Back to School series to just make sure that you're aware of all of the information, tools, resources, and tips that we have available for faculty teaching online remotely, and to just have a chance to go through that with you, and then for anyone who might have any questions about anything, to give them the opportunity to chat with us about it. So, so Erin popped the link to the checklist in the chat, and you can see it actually is kind of a checklist. You can actually check little things off, and you could print it out if you wanted, although this is roughly a framework of things to consider as you are either about to teach online or preparing to teach online, or even if you're during your online teaching experience. But really each link on this page, there are a wealth of resources, and I'm inviting you all to copy and paste and hold that link to this checklist so that you can really explore and dive more deeply into all of the resources that are here. So, you know, first off, you want to make sure that you know what resources and what procedures and what tools are being made available to you from your campus. And so one of the first links on the checklist is to help you find what's available for you on your campus. So let's go, I saw Maureen in there, so let's go to Orange. To see what we have posted there for Orange. Wait, where did it go? Orange. And I don't know why that didn't work, but anyway, we can scroll down to it and find Orange. And so here we have all of the links that are associated for remote online teaching faculty. And these go specifically to links that are Orange related. So if you go over here, these are SUNY Orange pages, and we have that for every campus, as you can see. So if you're not sure whom to contact on your campus, or what resources or what tools are being supported, you can find information about each campus here. We have the same information posted for each campus. So so I hope you'll check that out if you're unfamiliar with what your campus is doing. And that is really important because every campus is different. They have different supports, they have different tools, and they have different processes and perhaps requirements or you know, supports that they are providing to help you. So it's important to know what your campus would like you to do. So once you have that all clear and straightened out, in terms of the checklist, you want to you know, first really understand what's going on with your students. So you want to you know, as soon as you can, as soon as you have a roster, to begin communicating with your students, to check in with them, to see how they are doing, to see what types of circumstances they may be in, which may, you know, mitigate or inform what you do in your class. So you just want to check through all of their, you know, ask them to give you some information about their circumstances so that you can better understand what your students are going through, and also so that you can give them a sense that you are, you know, there with them and care about what their circumstances and conditions are. I have a number of resources posted here that I think would be very helpful in thinking through some of these issues. So for example, there's a check-in survey, there's a basic needs statement that you could add to your syllabus, and there's an example of an adjusted syllabus for this particular moment in time, where we're all having to do things that we're not used to, or that we may not be comfortable doing, or that we actually don't want to be doing. You may want to take a look at the different links that are posted here to help you think about how you might recognize this moment in time with your students and acknowledge some of the difficulties that we're all going through, you know, in this pivot to remote teaching. And then you just want to think about communication as a whole, and how you are going to interact and communicate with your students, and how you're going to make sure that your students know how you prefer to be communicated with, and things like setting up virtual office hours so that you can let the students know when they can actually talk with you, and whether you're going to do that in a synchronous way through the Collaborator Zoom or something. So you want to think that through and set that up, and make sure that you have a communications plan and certain things attended to in your syllabus or in your course information area of your course, so that students know you know, that how to communicate with you, know what the expectations are, for example, in turnaround time, and so that the students know that you're there for them and care about them, and what's going on for them in their lives right now. So that was the email your students, communicate with your students. So then you want to take a look at your syllabus. And you may have already done this if you're already teaching remotely. So this will just be kind of a review and refresher of the resources that are here. But you really want to have thought through what you're going to do with your course, and starting with the end in mind, I think, is a good approach to thinking that through. So if you think about how you're going to assess your students, you can kind of work backward to think about, okay, so you know, these are the activities that will lead up to the assessments, and these are the objectives that map to the activities, and that can sort of create the framework for you to be able to make sure that you're meeting your objectives, your learning objectives, and that you have the content that is associated with that, the interaction and collaboration activities that are associated with that, and authentic ways of assessing or evaluating student learning, and thought through how you're going to be providing feedback to the students. So there are some resources here and some things to think about, some questions to think about. Virginia, I see your post about emailing you this information. This information is extensive, and I would recommend that you grab this link here. This is to this page that I'm showing right now, and that you come back to this website to mine it for whatever information you might need. The main checklist, Erin posted the link to the main checklist just above, and this is a public website, and you're able to return to that page anytime, and as many times as you like. It's just a website. Let me know if I understood you correctly. So I don't want to assume, but I think that's what you were asking. So you know, the next thing that you want to do after you've reviewed your syllabus and thought through some of the questions that were posted on that previous page, you want to think through what revisions or additions or additional things might be necessary in your syllabus. And it may all be there. It may just be you know, a matter of you know, clarifying some things or making sure that you are attending to some of the language that you might want to incorporate because it's a remote teaching and learning experience. Typically, we recommend that in addition to like a Word document or a PDF of the syllabus, that you pull, like copy and paste certain pieces of the syllabus out so that they are more findable for the students. Things like how to contact you, when, where, your specific objectives, the types of activities that you're going to be doing, how the students are going to be assessed, evaluated, what expectations or policies you may have, what your institution may have that's specific to your institution. The course schedule is super important to be easily findable so that they know exactly where to be and when and what to do and using what links, especially if you're doing a primarily synchronous online course. You want to make sure to have the schedule and the links for your collaborator, Zoom or WebEx sessions super findable for the students, and then of course how students can find help. So there are a lot of resources here that you can dive into to help you with this particular section. So for example, I just clicked on the course information, and here are some example course information documents that are available to you. You are welcome to model yours after these if you want to. These are all actually examples. So for example, I'll look at the how you'll be evaluated example 2. So this is just a copied and paste from somebody's course. And this is how this instructor has documented how students are going to be evaluated. So there's lots of different ways to do that. That was just one example. Here's another one. Oh, this is my blog grading rubric. This is actually from my course. But anyway, you're welcome to come back to this page and look through all of these resources. And again, as I said, you are welcome to adapt and adopt and remix any of this information that's here. Everything that we post is openly licensed and meant to be models and adaptable by faculty. All right, so as I said, there's a lot of stuff here for you to take a look at in terms of the, you know, looking at your syllabus and making changes for the syllabus, for the components of the syllabus. So yeah, I went through that already. So one of the resources that faculty always are interested in, or one of the topics that they're always interested in when they're thinking about their course schedule and their syllabus, is time on task. And so I've pulled together a bunch of resources that speak directly to that issue. And in fact, Rice University has created this excellent workload course workload estimator that I'll invite you to think about, explore and take a look at. I'm not sure why it says I'm disconnected from the server. Reload, let's try that. There we go. So essentially you can play around with the different things, and then you can see I just made a change, and it changed the amount of hours out of class. So you can play around with this to see what has an impact. And I've already preloaded with this. I estimated they do about 30 pages of reading per week. In terms of difficulty, it's these are many new concepts. Then they have 3 pages of writing. Each page is about a 500-word post, and these are primarily research-based because they have to support their assertions and cite their sources, and then exams per semester, so forth. So with the things that I've set out here, it's saying that there should be about 3.71 out of class hours of work. So this is just to help you get a sense. It's often a question that new online faculty have of understanding workload. And not making your course a course and a half. You want to have, online activities and interactions, but account for the offline activities as well, many of which the students actually have to do in order to prepare for the online stuff. And that's going to vary depending on if the course is primarily synchronous or primarily asynchronous. And even if it's a combination of both, you just want to make sure that you are thinking that through. And like I said, one of the common challenges for faculty is that they end up creating a course and a half, which is way too much work for them and too much work for the students. So you want to try and have a sense of what that looks like and how that works. So hopefully this resource can help you with that. So let's see. So that was learning activities. Oh no. No, this is so we have learning activities. Just means these are the types of activities that students engage in the stuff of your course. So it may be an interactive thing, but reading the textbook is also a learning activity. Posting responses in a discussion forum is a learning activity. Taking a quiz or a test is a learning activity. And so you want to think through what are the types of learning activities that are mapping directly to your learning objectives. How are you providing feedback on that for the students, and how are you assessing students in their understanding of the activities that you've set up for them. There's a great resource. The University of Central Florida's Teaching Online Pedagogical Repository is a great resource for examples of learner-centered online activities. We also have posted here an online instructional activity index, and I'll bring that up for a second, but this has a bunch of different types of activities that you can do online and adapt for your own discipline, your own level, your own teaching style, and your own content. So I invite you to take a look at that. Active learning is another thing that we want to promote and encourage in terms of learner-centered learning experiences online, whether you're doing it synchronously, primarily synchronously online, completely asynchronously online, or a blend. You want to think about how you are actively engaging students and learner centering the types of interactions and activities that you're doing. So to that end, there are ample resources to help faculty think through how they can adapt a primarily lecture-based course. For example, if you're having a challenge thinking about how to transition from the face-to-face environment where perhaps you might do a lot of lecturing to an online environment. There are lots of engaging and active learner-centered approaches that you can adopt that you can use online, whether synchronously or asynchronously or in a blended format. So again, you'll want to come back to some of these pages to look through some of those resources in more depth. Accessibility is the thing that I want to mention, and in the checklist comes early on, because you want to be attentive to that from the beginning, and think through how you can make sure that your content that you're presenting, the activities that you're designing, and the assessments that you're devising to check your students' learning, and including feedback that you're providing to the students, that all of those things are accessible. One of the best ways to do this, well, there's a number of ways to approach this, but if you use the universal learning design principles, you can make sure from the very beginning that everything that you do is web accessible, or accessible to students with differing abilities. Of course, there's some specific things that you want to make sure that you build in, and there's a list of tips to improve the accessibility of your content right there. You should check with your campus resources for this as well. There are some tools that can be used to help identify issues with web pages and content within the course management system, and there may be some other tools and resources that the campus can apply to your course to help you make sure that that stuff is accessible. OSCQR, our online course quality rubric, has a number of standards that speak directly to the issue of accessibility, and so I would really encourage you to check out OSCQR, and I'll talk about OSCQR in more detail in a second. But I want to make sure that you know that there are some standards within OSCQR that will help you make sure that, thanks Erin for posting that, that will help you make sure that some really basic things in your course are going to be, optimized for web accessibility. All right, so in terms of actually teaching remotely, I've alluded to, like, there's a bunch of different flavors. Your course might be primarily asynchronous, so that means that it is taking place not at the same time and no one in the same place. So everything happens based on when the individual person logs into the course and interacts, and that will be different for every person. No one will be online at the same time talking like you and I are talking right now. It's an asynchronous course, and by definition, that means 100% of the direct instruction happens in a delayed way. Synchronous means that the course it has live video, is primarily via live web interaction like we're doing right now. There may be some things that you post in a course shell to kind of distribute paper, and maybe exams or grades or something like that, but the direct instruction that occurs is via Zoom or via WebEx or via Collaborate, and everybody is in the class at the same time and interacting in a live online synchronous manner. So there it can be a combination of the synchronous and asynchronous. As I mentioned, if you're doing a synchronous class, you can have your materials online. If you're doing an asynchronous class, you might have virtual office hours that are synchronous, for example. So there might be an occasional synchronous activity, but it's typically optional for the students so that they don't feel, because the whole point of asynchronous is that nobody has to be anywhere at the same time. But you may have some virtual office hours, for example. Blended is a combination of online and face-to-face, and face-to-face meaning in the classroom, in the physical classroom. So the online piece could be synchronous online or asynchronous online. And so that would be a blended course. And BlendKit, the UCF resource, BlendKit is an excellent resource for understanding how to design a blended course. And then HighFlex is another thing that folks have been talking about, and that really is is an approach that allows for maximum student choice. So at any moment, the student can choose to come to the course face-to-face, to tune into the course in a live synchronous manner, or to take the course completely online, and they can choose that at any moment during the week. So they could choose to do that whenever it is that they would like to. So 1 week they could come physically, 1 week they could do it through the synchronous online, and 1 week they could do it totally online. That course, essentially the design of that, you know, there's some effort that needs to go into making sure that that is possible in terms of the design of the course. And all of these require design, but this is requiring design for all three of those formats. Yeah, and you know, there's other types of designs of courses, but those are the primary ones I think that we are talking about in this remote teaching time that we're in. So synchronous interaction, there are a lot of resources for folks for synchronous interaction, and some tips for having a good synchronous discussion. And you can see here that I've posted not only tips and suggestions and ideas for teaching and interacting in a primarily synchronous online environment, but there are also some technical tools and resources to help get folks the information and the strategies and the resources in the use of the tools. I have posted here Blackboard and Collaborate. I know that some campuses may be using something like WebEx, or maybe there are some other tools that you're using, Google something or another. I think I heard folks might be using. These are the ones that I have posted currently, as primarily most folks in SUNY are using one or the other of these. So, you know, I really invite you to come here and check through, if you are teaching a primarily synchronous online course, to check through some of these resources that are posted. So I have something similar for asynchronous online teaching, and so this is for those who are teaching primarily in an asynchronous manner, so fully online, not at the same time kind of a way. And so you want to think through how you're presenting content, and what, if anything, you're doing with PowerPoint or slides. You want to think through how, if you're recording any videos or any screencasts, how you're doing that. And there are lots of tips and suggestions on things like the length of videos, and how to light your space, and how to make videos in easy ways, using some freely available tools like Screencast-O-Matic, or using other tools like VoiceThread. So there are a lot of tips and suggestions here for asynchronous content presentation and activities. The resources for blended and/or high-flex type courses are on this page. And so things like adapting discussion-based courses, or the activity index will help here. Again, that UCF Blend Kit tool that I mentioned earlier has tons of information, including best practices, examples, and other course design resources specifically for hybrid or blended online instruction. And then I have some great resources regarding HyFlex if anyone is doing that. Judith Littlejohn from SUNY Genesee has put together a great guide and resource for that, so there's a link to that there. All right, let's see, what else do I have? Community and interaction are vital to any kind of an online teaching and learning environment. And so we want to make sure that you have lots of information and tools and tips to think about the interaction in your course. There are 50 plus ice-breaking activity ideas here under this link. Ways to think about your discussion and improve them, what makes a good discussion, how to think about online discussions. This is different from class participation. It really becomes the meat of a course, or it can become the meat of a course. And of course, there's differences between a synchronous online discussion and an asynchronous online discussion. I talked a little bit about alternatives to lecture. You want to think through some online group work and some tips and best practices if you're going to get students into groups. And then, if you're having students do presentations, you want to help students think through, and you think through the different tools and resources that you might consider for any kind of a student presentation activity. And of course, you want to this resource here on supporting online student success, there are a ton of resources there that would be, if you're interested, to take a look at. And then, of course, if you're doing a large format course, I have this link kind of posted throughout some of these resources, all linking to the same resource on how to deal with large format courses. So once you're actually teaching, and many of you probably have already started either this week or last week to actually teach online, you want to think through some of the things about getting off to a good start. It's about trust building and community building and getting to know each other. So that's where the ice-breaking activities can come in handy. You want to think through the different things that are important to consider when you're starting to teach online. And so these are some suggestions for things to consider as you begin to start to teach online. Some course management tips to review, to think through sort of your workflow in terms of teaching online. So just some guidelines or some suggestions and recommendations on how to make sure that that you're getting things off to a good start. You want to take notes on things that are working and things that you think can be improved, and keep track so that when it comes time to review and revise and improve your course for the next time you deliver it, you have a list of things that you want to think about either changing or improving in some way. And so it's a good thing to keep notes on that. All right, so assessments is another area where we have a ton of resources. And so if you're trying to think about how to understand what your students know and what they've learned and where they are, so that you can diagnose misperceptions and provide corrective feedback. There are lots of tools and resources on this page for designing authentic online assessments. And it's going to depend on if you're synchronous online, asynchronous online, or a blend, what strategies and what types of activities you may use. And so, you may want to, dive through these resources. If that feels kind of too much for you, I would recommend talking with an instructional designer who would be able to help you think through how to map your learning objectives with your activities, with your assessments, to make sure those are all in alignment and in sync, so that you can best understand what method to use to evaluate student learning and to assess them and provide feedback. But there are a lot of resources here. So another thing you want to think about at the beginning of your course is how you're going to end the course, and how you are going to sort of close out with an activity to end the learning community that you've created. And that's no matter what mode you're teaching in, you want to give some time and attention to that. One of the things that you could do to help you in improving your own teaching practice and the design of your course is to ask your students questions about, their experience in your course, and help you understand from their experience and their perspective what worked well for them and what they thought could be improved in some way, and specifically. So it's not really asking them, did you like the course? It's diving a little bit more deeply in that, and you can do that in a number of ways. The way that I do it in my course is with a little survey. It's not a course evaluation. It's not a faculty evaluation. And I make sure to emphasize that with the students. I'm really looking for constructive feedback on how to improve my own teaching practice and the design of the course. So this page will help you think through how you're going to end your course. I mentioned OSCQR earlier. OSCQR is the SUNY Online Course Quality Review rubric, and I think Erin popped that link in the chat earlier. But OSCQR is an online set of tools and resources for helping you to understand some of the best practices and standards for online teaching and learning. For the online component of it, it's really for the asynchronous online teaching aspects, but it could also work for blended or synchronous for the online materials. And so there are, as I mentioned, there are accessibility standards. So you can see here, for example, contrast is one of the accessibility standards. You want to make sure that, you're not having white text on a black background, for example. You want to make sure that the content is easily viewable. One of the cool things about OSCQR is that it's available as a self-assessment PDF. And the Online Learning Consortium adopted OSCQR a couple of years ago and provides you access to the downloadable PDF very easily. You would just go to this page and fill out this short form, and you'll see I've already filled it out. And then what it immediately does is it downloads this this PDF form, and you can see that this is it's a fillable PDF, so you can immediately go in and check things off and read each of the standards, and there's links to each of the standards. You can see I'm mousing over the first one, and it goes to the first OSCQR standard. So I would encourage you, as you are designing your course and then as you're thinking about improving your course, that you do a self-assessment with OSCQR. And then if you have access to an online instructional designer, that you take your self-assessment and work with them to help decide what you're going to improve in your course. So you can pick and choose. This is a self-assessment, and you can decide, okay, for this next semester, I'm going to really focus on improving my discussions and then dive into the tools and resources and ideas that either your instructional designer has or that we have to help you improve the design and interaction of your online discussions. So I encourage you to check out OSCQR and to use it to help guide the design of it, and then guide the review and improvement of your course. I wanted to mention, yes, Erin, thanks. I know we're a little over time. I wanted to mention the discipline-specific resources that we have available. I'm sure that there are those here in the room that are teaching perhaps some more hands-on or lab or experiential type courses. which can be a challenge to do in either a synchronous or asynchronous manner. And so we do have some resources for folks who are teaching in specific disciplines for you to check out. We have a number of courses up for observation that are available in a variety of disciplines. These are mathematics courses, technology courses, health sciences, humanities, French course over here, social sciences, and I think, oh, and here's some education courses. So if you're interested in taking a look at any of these courses, I would invite you to come to this page. You will need to authenticate into our system. You may get like a password request when you first log into this link, but if you just hit cancel, you will come to this page. Nevertheless, you will need a username and password to our system in order to fully access these courses. So if you don't have a username and password for the course, you will be able to see something like this, but it's not the full course. So if you do need, if you do want to see the full course, you'll have to contact our help desk and ask them to help you get into the SUNY online courses for observation. And they'll walk you through getting a username and password in our system and getting into the system and accessing these courses. Okay, so we also have some workplace groups that are available for folks in the disciplines. Workplace is a Facebook-like thing that's available to anyone in SUNY. This particular group is for visual and performing arts, and this one is for STEM. So I would invite you to come back to this page and click on any of these links and join Workplace, and then you can join these groups. And then finally, I wanted to share with you a list of resources for those of you who may be doing something that's completely asynchronous. That is where my expertise is primarily. I've been doing this for more than 20 years, and where SUNY online teaching has been in this space for more than 20 years, working with faculty and campuses and students in primarily asynchronous online teaching and learning environments. And so here are a list of resources for folks specifically regarding asynchronous online teaching. So that's the bulk of my presentation. If anyone has any questions, Erin, did I miss any questions in the chat? I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have specifically. I hope that you will come back to this checklist and check out the depth and wealth of information that is here. And if you are thinking that something is too hard or there must be some resource to help you with a particular thing, you're right, there probably is. And so I want you to not hesitate to contact us if you are looking for something or not remembering where you saw something that in one of these sessions. Don't hesitate to let us know, because we can most likely point you in the right direction or connect you with someone who can. So yeah, anyone else have anything? Did I miss anything, Erin?
I have a question and I can't find the chat box. This is Janet. May I ask a question?
Hi, Janet. Sure. Hi, Janet.
I've lost my main screen and lost the chat box, so thank you. First of all, thank you for all this information. It's going to be very helpful to go back to and just walk through several times. I have a question, which, as I say, probably can't be answered, but I have a lot of students and some faculty who live in towns like, for example, Morris, New York, or just outside of Oneonta, with very low broadband width. Mm-hmm. And so the fancier we get with teaching, we've got this moving image, we've got that, the less likely it is that they can participate. And not only that, even with no fancy images, just getting on Teams, the communication is almost non-existent. I know.
So that's a broadband issue, right, Janet? You're talking, it's a broadband issue. Yeah, I know that several, areas in New York State have some challenges with that type of access. It's either very low, it could be non-existent or very low. We have some resources, right, Erin, on our COVID page that might be able to help. And, you know, I know that some students, for example, and this is why it's so important to email your students and to think about, you know, things from the student perspective and where they are, and to get information from students on things like this so that you can better understand their circumstances. And that will help you to inform, you know, your activities and how you design them, and maybe come up with options and alternatives for students who may not have easy access to the internet. I do know that there are students and even staff who have to drive to the parking lot of their local library, for example,
Right.
to get on the Wi-Fi there, because where their house is doesn't have
Right.
Wi-Fi.
A lot of
Yeah.
students are in exactly that situation.
Yep, and it may also be an issue of their data plans. For some students, especially, you know, students in lower income situations, they may not have data plans that would allow them to be in a live video synchronous core, you know, class for 3 hours every week, you know.
So we don't hear any news about New York State trying to address that, right?
So I think Aaron posted in the chat some resources for students for free or low cost internet. And in New York State, I think it's in New York State.
I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, check it out. It's in the chat, Janet. And we'll make the chat available and the recording of this session available afterwards.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, thanks, Janet. Anyone else have any questions? Carol, I see you raised your hand. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I did. I unmuted myself. I was trying to turn on my video. But anyway, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm from Stony Brook University, and one of the questions that has come up in faculty discussions is, you know, that respecting students may not want to show their video, you know, have their video on while they're in class, you know, balancing that with trying to keep students engaged. And so we're trying to kind of work on that. And then a question came up: if the Zoom session needs to be, it is recorded and then needs to be released to students so that they can go back and look at it, is there any type of violation if the videos have been on? It came up yesterday in our faculty meeting, and I thought, gee, I don't know. Any advice?
Yeah, so actually this is a particular area of interest to me in trying to think from student perspectives and respecting student privacy. We've actually been chatting about this in the Fact 2 Council and in the SUNY System Provost's office to help come up with some guidelines and recommendations for faculty. From my perspective, I think that requiring student video is not something that I would recommend. I would always make it optional to students, and I would always open the door for students to help me understand their circumstances. There are lots of reasons why students might not be able to or might not be willing to use their video of their face, right? So from the get-go, I would say I would not recommend requiring it. Of course, there may be some circumstances and situations where, you know, if the student's giving a presentation or something where it would be, you know, counterproductive for the video to be off. If you want to see how someone is dancing, you actually have to see them, right? Or whatever, you know. But it's something to pay attention to and something to understand. And I'm glad to hear that Stony Brook is kind of grappling with this. And I just want you to know that we're talking about this and coming up with some recommendations from the SUNY Provost's office on this. I'm not entirely sure where we are in that process, but the last I saw was a draft of the recommendation, and it was going to be shared with SUNY Legal to have them have their input to it. And then at some point that recommendation would be distributed to you know, to folks around the system. You know, between now and then, I would suggest that you have those conversations on your campus, and I would suggest that you think about, you know, that for your own instruction and what you're doing with that and how you're doing it, and how you can think about it from the student's perspective, and think about their privacy, and make things optional if possible, and make sure that students know that they can come to you to tell you what's going on for them that makes that request either not possible or very difficult. So yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else, anything?
Can I chime in for a minute? I'm not sure. Can you see me? Okay. Can you see my image? I think I got it on. Okay. I teach art, and engagement is really important. For example, you know, the students have to engage in the critique discussions, show their artwork. I actually have them drawing during the Zoom and then sharing their artwork as part of meeting our SLOs. So taking away that interaction and engagement is a, you know, it's a real detriment to the course, and not having that engagement. So
why would it be taken away?
If they no longer, if I make it so they don't have to show themselves or use, you know, or just use the mute button.
So you want to see their art, right? You don't have to
Yes.
see their face. So they could show their screen perhaps, right?
No, it's on paper. It's on paper and pencil.
So
they're holding up
and
the
how are they
sketchbooks.
Okay. Oh, they're holding up their sketchbooks. So
yeah.
Okay.
Or their artwork. So I'm just bringing it up as it from a different perspective when there's that type of engagement.
And we recognize
I do tell them they can use screen savers in the background so they don't have to show their house.
Yep. So every discipline is going to be different. And like I said, it's going to be really hard for you to teach a dance class if you can't see your student dancing. And like you, it's going to be hard to teach your art class if you can't see your students' artwork. So this is this is not saying don't do that. This is saying think about it, and think about from your student's perspective, and see if leave the door open so that students can let you know if there's some problem or challenge with doing what you're asking them to do. And then, you know, if you need to see their artwork, you need to see their artwork, you know. So it may be that for one student, for whatever reason, if they can't, that you can come up with some alternative in terms of the critique of an artwork. I've seen some wonderful art critiques using VoiceThread, for example. It depends on what art you're talking about, but you know, VoiceThread is a wonderful tool, and I don't know if that's getting in the weeds too much with you, but I have seen that tool used.
Okay, I'll check that tool out. I'd be happy to check that tool out. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Any questions?
I just want to make sure that Heather also saw a comment from Maureen in the chat that students who may have an iPhone can use it as a document camera to show their sketchbook without having to show their faces. There may be other apps on phones that allow for that, phones or tablets. So that's another area to kind of explore.
Okay,
yeah, that's a great suggestion. There are, you know, the iPhone is really great both for faculty and for students. We've had some visual and performing arts faculty who actually are using two cameras, their laptop camera and their iPhone camera, to be able to demonstrate things, and they can switch between the cameras, and so that someone can actually be looking at your hands doing something, and then switch back to you know the presentation. So yeah, using a combination of the video in the laptop, if that's what you're using, and the iPhone is maybe a great alternative to explore. All right, thanks, Jim and Alexis. See you later. And Robin. Thanks everyone for joining us. What's our next one, Erin?
The next one is October 6th, and it is on effective online discussions. And so the same site for registration, I'll put that in the chat, also has our recordings. So you can get everything there and you can take a look. We have effective online discussions in October. We have supporting online student success in November. And then we have 2 on Oscar and course quality in December.
Excellent, thank you. And Erin posted the recordings playlist, so you can get the recording to the session there. And yeah,
it's also the same site that you use to register.
And Erin, is the chat posted there too?
We do save the chats, but usually I add those as a file on our YouTube channel when I get the videos uploaded. But they can certainly post any kind of support materials, so I can ask them to put the chats.
Okay, well, also just, you know, if you, can you see my chat box, Erin? If you pull up the chat box, you can actually click on the 3 little ellipses to the right of the field where you type, and you can then select Save Chat, and then it'll save the chat for you. If you don't want to wait.
Any attendee can do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any attendee can do that.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I get the chat as part of the Zoom, so I get it anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but any attendee can do that. I was just thinking if they didn't want to wait for it to be posted, that they can get it right now by doing that.
Yeah.
I think Janet was asking about that earlier, and so I just wanted to make sure that if she wanted it right now, she could go grab it. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and